No, don't adjust your sets. We've gone back in time for this lesson on how to explain the impact of inflation on prices over time. We've gone back, in fact, to the year 1950 when black and white television is really making its mark in the American culture. Television shows like Zorro and Ozzie and Harriet, The Twilight Zone, and Leave It to Beaver are making their initial runs, and people are finding out all about the wide world of Disney on television. In this year, the average annual income is about $4,250 in the United States, and gasoline prices are right in the range of 30 cents a gallon. It sure sounds nice to pay 30 cents a gallon in gasoline, but your income isn't nearly as high as it might be out there in the future. The question we want to deal with today is whether or not these prices and incomes are all that out of line with what we might experience in the future. How do we do that? Well, in order to make that adjustment, we need to do a little bit of math. The price that we have today can be compared to the prices that people paid for things or the incomes that people earned in the past. To do that, we set up a little equation. On the right-hand side of the equation, we have the number that we're looking to discover, which is the price that things should be today. On the left-hand side of the equal sign, we have the price or the income that people earned in the past, and we multiply that by the consumer price index. Now, it's not just one consumer price index because we're not dealing with just one period in time. We're going to take the consumer price index for whatever year we want to discover the price in, which would be our current CPI, and divide it by the CPI in the past. Since we're looking at 1950, we'll take the price we'll take the price of the good in 1950, multiply it by the CPI today, divided by the CPI in 1950. Once we make that calculation, then we can get a much better idea as to whether or not the prices we're paying for things in the future are comparable to what people paid in the past. For instance, if you look at the picture here to my left, you see that prices of gasoline used to be a lot cheaper. As I said, in 1950, the average price of a gallon of gasoline was about 30 cents a gallon. So let's see if we're really paying that much more than they were in 1950 once we adjust for inflation. So we'll put 30 cents in the price from the past, and we're going to multiply that by the CPI today. The CPI today is about 218.056. The CPI in 1950 was 24.1, which means prices were a lot less back in 1950. When we do that mathematical calculation, we calculate that once we adjust for inflation, the price of gasoline should be about $2.71. Now you say to yourself, I've just been out near the pumps and we're not paying $2.71 for gasoline. That's true, but there are some other things that you need to take into consideration. 1950 was a long time ago, and things have changed when it comes to the gasoline market. For example, the tax that you paid, the federal tax that you paid on gasoline in 1950 was about 1.5%. Today it's over 20%. So we need to add 20% to our price. $2.71 plus 20%, which is about 54 cents a gallon, gets us up into the $3.26 range. And you say, whoa, $3.26, that's still maybe a little less than what we're paying today. Well, you also have to incorporate into this your local taxes, your state taxes, and the fact that supply and demand conditions have changed. Add on to that the instability in the Middle East, and you may begin to ask yourselves, why isn't gas a lot more expensive than it really is? A lot of the difference in gas prices from 1950 to today have to do with political events. But probably a bigger percentage of that simply has to do with the change in the value of your dollar, which we call inflation. When we incorporate inflation into the price of gasoline, The prices aren't really all that out of line. In fact, for a long time, we've probably been paying too little for gasoline if you incorporate inflation into the picture.